What truly makes a monster? Is it some inherent darkness within a select few? Or can the right, or wrong, circumstances twist an ordinary person into something unrecognizable? Imagine a group of bright, well-adjusted young men, students just like any others, suddenly thrown into a world where their identities are stripped away and their roles dictate their very humanity. What happens when power is absolute and resistance is futile? In the summer of 1971, a groundbreaking and deeply unsettling experiment unfolded in the basement of Stanford University. Driven by a desire to understand the psychology of prison life, a team of researchers sought to simulate a prison environment, observing how quickly individuals would adapt to the roles of guards and prisoners. They recruited 24 psychologically stable male college students, screening them rigorously to ensure they were free from any psychological issues or criminal tendencies. These were, by all accounts, normal, healthy young men, ready to earn $15 a day for their participation. The setup was meticulously crafted to mimic a real prison. 12 students were randomly assigned the role of guards, given khaki uniforms, whistles, sunglasses to obscure eye contact, and wooden batons, though they were explicitly told not to use physical violence. Their instruction was simply to maintain order. The other 12 became prisoners. Their initiation was brutal and swift. Real local police officers arrested them from their homes, booked them, fingerprinted them, and then brought them blindfolded to the mock prison. There they were stripped, sprayed with delousing chemicals, and issued ill-fitting smocks, worn without underwear, and identified only by a number sewn onto their uniform. Their names were taken, replaced by these numbers. Their dignity was the first casualty. The experiment was planned for 2 weeks, but it wasn't long before the lines between role-playing and reality began to blur. On the very first night, the guards, initially awkward and unsure, started to assert their authority. They woke prisoners with blaring whistles, forcing them into punitive exercises. What began as a simple power dynamic quickly escalated. The guards devised increasingly sadistic and humiliating rules. Prisoners were made to perform push-ups, clean toilets with their bare hands, and were subjected to constant verbal abuse and intimidation. They were forced to endure midnight counts, where they chanted their numbers and performed demeaning tasks. The transformation was chillingly swift. Within days, the prisoners exhibited signs of extreme emotional distress, anxiety, and depression. Some developed severe stress rashes. Others began to cry uncontrollably. One prisoner, after just 36 hours, experienced an acute emotional breakdown, screaming, crying, and behaving as if he were losing his mind. He had to be released. Others became passive, submissive, and utterly demoralized, internalizing their roles to the point where they truly believed they deserved their treatment. Equally disturbing was the metamorphosis of the guards. They embraced their roles with a terrifying zeal. What started as enforcement of rules mutated into creative, psychological torment. They denied prisoners basic necessities like sleep, food, and bathroom access. They pitted prisoners against each other, creating a divide-and-conquer strategy that eroded any sense of solidarity. Some guards were tough but fair, but many became overtly sadistic, appearing to genuinely enjoy their newfound power. They rationalized their cruelty, viewing the prisoners not as fellow students, but as actual inmates deserving of punishment. The environment itself, the anonymity of the uniforms, and the absolute power granted to them, seemed to strip away their individual empathy. The experiment was meant to run for 2 weeks, but it was abruptly terminated after just 6 days. The catalyst for its end came from an unlikely source, an outside observer, a graduate student named Christina Maslach, who visited the prison and was horrified by what she witnessed. She saw the students suffering profoundly and confronted the lead researcher, highlighting the escalating ethical violations. Her fresh perspective, untainted by immersion in the prison environment, shocked the team into realizing the depths of the psychological harm being inflicted. The experiment's findings were stark. The situation, the social roles, and the institutional dynamics profoundly influenced behavior, overriding individual personalities and moral compasses. It suggested that seemingly ordinary, good people could, under specific circumstances, be led to commit acts of extreme cruelty. This phenomenon was later termed the Lucifer Effect, underscoring how systemic factors can facilitate a descent into evil. The power of social roles, the process of dehumanization, where individuals are stripped of their identity and treated as objects, and the sheer force of an oppressive environment proved more potent than anyone anticipated. However, the Stanford Prison Experiment is not without its controversies and critiques. Many have pointed to serious ethical breaches, including a lack of full informed consent, and the researcher's deep involvement as superintendent, which may have biased the outcome. Critics argue that participants might have simply been acting out what they believed was expected, rather than revealing some innate human propensity for sadism. There have also been failed attempts to replicate the study, fueling skepticism about its generalizability. Yet, despite these important criticisms, the Stanford Prison Experiment remains a powerful, if cautionary, tale in the annals of human psychology. It stands as a chilling reminder of the profound impact that situational forces can have on our behavior, our morality, and our identity. It highlights the ease with which individuals can conform to oppressive roles, both as perpetrators and victims. So the next time you hear about acts of cruelty or injustice, pause and consider, is it always about inherently bad people? Or are there invisible systems, roles, and environments at play, quietly shaping human behavior in ways we rarely acknowledge? What responsibility do we bear to scrutinize the systems we create and participate in, to prevent the insidious creep of dehumanization and the unchecked exercise of power? The answer to these questions might reveal more about ourselves than we dare to imagine.